The harsh stench of aviation fuel and the shimmering heat radiating from the metal skin of the C-17 are what welcome me home. I loosen the strap of the duffel bag on my shoulder, planning to take a deep breath of the familiar, rusty air of suburban Pennsylvania after 9 months of deployment. Suddenly, the phone in my camo chest pocket vibrates violently. Not one, but 17 missed calls, all from my father. Right after, 2 sharp text messages flash on the screen. Card declined, call back now. And the next one? What have you done with our money? My chest freezes. The hand clutching the bag strap slowly goes limp. My eyes lock onto those 2 words. Our money. In the Army, that means we live or die together. At home, it is blatant theft. I am Captain Millie Arnold. 15 years in the service taught me how to spot a dying defense system. Before I tell you how I brought down this blood-sucking system, tell me, have you ever been treated like an ATM by your own family? If you have tasted that bitterness, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to walk with me. The truth ahead is much crueler. Now, back to the tarmac. I do not press the call button. 17 missed calls do not signal a father's worry for a daughter returning from a combat zone. They signal the frantic rage of a man whose golden goose just stopped laying eggs. I slide the phone back into my cargo pocket. The vibration stops, but the phantom hum remains against my ribs. I hoist the 66-pound duffel bag higher, the strap digging into the scarred muscle of my shoulder. I walk. My boots strike the asphalt with a hollow, rhythmic thud that echoes off the corrugated hangars. This is the Northeast Philadelphia airport, gray, industrial, and tired. The wind rips through the chain-link fences, whistling against the rusted barbed wire that lines the perimeter. It is a lonely sound. It is the sound of coming home to nothing. The air smells of wet concrete and old exhaust. I pass through the final security gate, ignoring the civilian travelers hugging their families. There is no one here for me. Not even a ghost. I find my old Ford truck in the long-term lot, covered in a thick layer of Pennsylvania grit. I unlock the door. The hinges groan, a dry metal-on-metal scream that sets my teeth on edge. I climb into the driver's seat and shut the world out. The interior smells of stale coffee, old plastic, and the faint, lingering scent of cheap tobacco. I shove the key into the ignition. I don't turn it, I just sit there, my hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turn as white as bone. My mind drifts back 9 months. A different kitchen, but the same feeling of impending rot. The air in my father's house had been thick with cigarette smoke and the heavy, humid smell of boiling cabbage. I had stood by the Formica table, still in my fatigues, ready to head to the base for my flight out. I pushed the silver supplementary card across the table's edge. Arthur Arnold sat there, his belly hanging over his belt, looking at that piece of plastic like it was a holy relic. "Only for emergencies, Dad," I said. My voice was low, disciplined. "If a pipe bursts, if Brenda needs a doctor, only then." He didn't look me in the eye. He just nodded, his thick, calloused fingers snatching the card off the table. Then he stood up and gave me a heavy slap on the back. "Don't you worry about us, Millie," he'd said, a fake grin plastered on his face. "We're family. We take care of our own." It felt like a promise then. Now, sitting in the cold silence of my truck, that backslap feels like a punch to the gut. It was a blood pact made in a kitchen that smelled of lies. The phone vibrates again in my pocket. Call 18. My father is persistent when his comfort is threatened. I pull the device out. The screen glows with his name, Arthur. In the field, when you're under fire, you don't stand in the middle of a clearing to argue with a sniper. You find cover. You shut up. You gather intelligence. You find out exactly how much ammunition the enemy has left. I flip the phone face down on the passenger seat. The vibration rattles against the cracked leather, a frantic, annoying sound that I choose to ignore. Let him sweat. Let him wonder why the ATM finally went dark. I reach into my bag and pull out a second phone, my encrypted personal device. This one is for banking. This one is for the truth. My fingers tap a slow, steady rhythm on the steering wheel. a nervous habit I haven't been able to shake since my first tour. I open the banking app. My thumb hovers over the screen. The small blue loading circle begins to spin, round and round. It feels like a countdown. That block of ice in my chest grows colder with every rotation. My breath hitches in my throat. I am a logistics officer. I deal in numbers. I deal in facts. I know how to read a supply line, and right now, mine looks like it's been sabotaged from the inside out. The circle stops. The screen refreshes. I stare at the numbers. My eyes trace the commas, the decimals, searching for a mistake, a bank error, a glitch in the system. But the app doesn't lie. The balance is almost zero. 9 months of hazard pay, 9 months of combat bonuses, 9 months of living in the dirt so my family could have a roof over their heads. It's gone, all of it. I scroll down to the recent transactions. The screen flickers, revealing a trail of blood and greed that leads straight to my front door. My grip on the phone tightens until the glass groans. I don't cry. Captains don't cry on duty. I just feel the ice in my chest shatter into 1,000 jagged shards of glass. The loading circle was just the beginning. The real disaster is blinking back at me in black and white, and it has a name I recognize all too well. The white glow of my phone screen burns my eyes. It is the only light in this dark, cramped cabin, reflecting off the grime on the dashboard of my old Ford. Outside, the Philadelphia wind still rips through the chain-link fences, but inside, the air is stagnant, smelling of cold plastic and the bitter dregs of a coffee I finished weeks ago. My breath comes out in short, jagged bursts, hitting the steering wheel in little puffs of steam. My teeth are gritted so hard my jaw aches. I stare at the screen. I do not blink. I do not look away. The numbers are there, cold, hard, final. My paycheck from the Department of Defense hits this account every 2 weeks like clockwork. It is supposed to be the bedrock of my future. It is 15 years of sand, sweat, and the constant ringing silence of a combat zone translated into digital currency. But the balance staring back at me is paper thin. It is a joke. It is an insult. I scroll back. My thumb moves with the mechanical precision of a soldier clearing a jam. I am looking for the leak. I am looking for the moment the defense system collapsed. It did not happen all at once. It was not a single, massive hit. It was a storm. A 72-hour frenzy of greed that tore through my life while I was still clearing customs. The first entry hits me like a physical blow to the solar plexus. $186. Prime Cut Steakhouse. It happened last Friday night. My mind flashes back to last month. I was huddled in a concrete bunker in a desert that smelled of burning trash and spent brass. The sirens were wailing, a high, thin scream that signaled incoming fire. I was chewing on a piece of lukewarm, vacuum-sealed beef from a meal's ready-to-eat pack, the kind that tastes like wet cardboard and salt. I remember thinking about my father. I pictured him in that cramped, drafty kitchen in Pennsylvania, eating a can of soup to save money because the water heater was on the fritz. I felt guilty. I felt like I should be doing more for him. But while I was swallowing sand and praying the roof would hold, they were sitting under crystal chandeliers. They were cutting into dry-aged ribeyes and ordering top-shelf bourbon on my dime. $186. That is more than a week of hazard pay. That is 3 days of my life traded for a dinner they did not earn. I scroll down further, my jaw tightening until a muscle in my neck begins to throb. $342 at a sporting goods store. Then a string of charges for gasoline, Sheetz, Wawa, Exxon, all of them located along Interstate 81. They were not at home. They were not fixing the leak in the roof or paying the property taxes. They took a road trip. They took my money, loaded up my father's old sedan, and went on a goddamn vacation. And then comes the kill shot. $1,128. Best Buy. My father's voice echoes in my head from a phone call we had 3 months ago. Millie, the house is falling apart, honey. The water heater is shot. We're taking cold showers. I hate to ask, but... I didn't even let him finish. I told him to use the card. I told him his comfort was my priority. I sat in the dark for an hour after that call, feeling proud that I could provide for them. I felt like a daughter. I felt like a hero. But a water heater does not cost $1,128 at Best Buy. That is the price of a 75-inch flat-screen television with a premium soundbar. That is the price of a luxury I've never allowed myself to buy. They bought a theater system while I was sleeping on a cot with a rifle for a pillow. The disgust starts in my gut and rises like bile. It is not just the money, it is the calculation. It is the way they waited until I was unreachable, deep in a deployment, to start the harvest. They treated me like a crop. They waited for the season, and then they picked me clean. Does this make your blood boil as much as mine? Have you ever been the one working double shifts, sacrificing your sleep and your sanity, only to find out the people you love were treating your bank account like a lottery win? If you have ever been bled dry by a family member who claimed they were just struggling, type truth in the comments right now. I need to know I am not the only one who has felt this sting. Hit that like button if you think it is time for the golden child to stop living on my sweat. My thumb moves to the bottom of the screen. Something is wrong. The scale of this theft is too large for a simple card swipe. They did not just use the plastic. They went deeper. I tap on the Settings and Security tab. My heart is a heavy, leaden weight in my chest. I click on the account profile. There, in the section for the recovery email address, is a name I did not put there. It is not my military email. It is not my private Gmail. It is ryan-arnold-at-outlook-.com. Ryan. My little brother. The golden child. The one who was too sensitive for the military. The one who was too creative for a 9-to-5 job. The one who has spent 32 years failing at everything while my father cheered him on. He didn't just spend the money. He hacked the system. He locked me out of my own notifications so I wouldn't see the alerts. He crawled into the digital wiring of my life and rerouted the flow. That block of ice in my chest shatters into 1,000 jagged shards of glass. It is not an accident. It is not a misunderstanding. It is a coordinated assault by the people who were supposed to be my home base. I stare at Ryan's name until it blurs. The phone vibrates again. Call 19. Arthur. The enemy isn't just at the gates. They are sitting in my living room, watching a movie on a television I paid for with my blood. I do not put the phone down. I grip the steering wheel with my free hand, feeling the cheap leather cover creak under the pressure. The time for observation is over. I pull up my contacts. I don't call my father. I don't call Ryan. I search for the number of my JAG officer, the military lawyer who helped me set up my estate before I left. If they want to play games with a soldier's life, they are going to find out exactly what happens when that soldier decides to strike back. 1 click, 2. The line starts to ring. This isn't a family dispute anymore. This is a court-martial. I stare at the name on the screen, ryan.arnold@outlook.com. It is written in a clean, sans serif font that looks too professional for a man who hasn't held a job in 3 years. My brother. The kid who cried when he got a B in middle school. The man who now hides in my father's basement, feeding off my paychecks like a tick on a stray dog. The silence in the truck is heavy. Outside, the Philadelphia sky is a bruised purple, the kind of color that promises a cold, miserable rain. I reach out and grab the gear shift of the Ford. I pull it down into park. The metal clunks, a solid, heavy sound that vibrates through my arm. I need this to be official. I need to be stationary when I start the fire. I pull my thumb across the screen. I don't hesitate. I don't give myself time to wonder if there is a mistake. In the Army, hesitation is how people get killed. I tap his contact. The dial tone is a cold, rhythmic pulse in my ear. 1 ring, 2. The line clicks open. Immediately, the sound of a digital explosion erupts on the other end. Rapid gunfire, the high-pitched scream of a racing engine, and a heavy bass beat. Hey, sis. You back at the base already? Ryan's voice is smooth. Too smooth. It is the voice of a man who has spent his entire life practicing how to sound innocent while his pockets are full of stolen goods. He sounds relaxed. He sounds like a man who isn't worried about his sister's survival, but rather about the next level of his game. I'm back, I say. My voice is a flat line. I don't let a single drop of anger leak out. Anger is a weapon you save for the strike. That's great, Millie, really. Dad's been saying we should have a big dinner, maybe some steaks. Celebrate you not getting blown up. He chuckles. It's a wet, hollow sound. I can hear him shifting in his seat, probably the expensive gaming chair I saw in his Amazon wish list months ago. The music in the background swells. I'm looking at the account, Ryan, I say. I keep my eyes on the rusted hood of the truck. A single drop of oil sits on the engine block, dark and thick. The gunfire on his end pauses for a second, then resumes. Oh, yeah? Everything look good? I mean, I don't touch that stuff. Dad's been handling the house bills. You know how it is. Prices are crazy right now. Inflation is a bitch, ain't it? He's good. He's been waiting for this call. He has his script ready, his lines memorized. He wants me to think he's just the messenger, the bystander. He wants me to think the system just failed on its own. The bank flagged some charges, I say, tossing out the bait. I make my voice sound slightly confused, slightly tired. Electronics, sports gear, a bunch of gas stations on I-81. I told them it was probably just a mistake on their end, a glitch. Yeah, totally, Ryan says, jumping on the lie like a starving animal. I can almost hear the relief in his breath. Probably a glitch. Or, Dad. He's been buying stuff for the house, trying to fix that leak in the basement. He said he had to get some tools and equipment. Dad. He probably went to the wrong store or something. I'll talk to him. We'll get it sorted. The gaslighting is effortless. He's telling me I didn't see what I saw. He's telling me my father, a man who can barely operate a microwave, somehow navigated an interstate road trip to buy high-end electronics and sporting goods. He thinks I'm the same Millie who left 9 months ago. The Millie who wanted so badly to believe her family loved her that she'd accept any lie they told. I let the silence stretch. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. In the military, 3 seconds of silence is an eternity. It is the space where the enemy starts to wonder if they've been spotted. It is where they start to sweat. The music on his end abruptly cuts out. The digital gunfire stops. The only thing left is the faint, ragged sound of his breathing. Ryan, I say. My voice has dropped an octave. It is the voice I use when I'm giving an order that cannot be questioned. Why is the recovery email for my bank account set to your personal Outlook address? The silence on the other end isn't just quiet. It is dead. It is the sound of a man realizing he's standing in the middle of a minefield and he just heard the click. I don't know anything about that, he stammers. The smoothness is gone. His voice is high, reedy, like a child caught with his hand in the jar. Maybe when I was helping Dad set up the new TV, the system asked for an email. I probably just typed mine in so he wouldn't get confused. You know how he is with tech, Millie. I was just trying to help. I was just being a good son. You hacked my security, Ryan, I say. I'm not asking a question. You locked my notifications. You rerouted the alert so I wouldn't see the withdrawals. Millie, you're overreacting. You're always so intense. It's the army brain, man. You think everyone is an insurgent? I'm your brother. We're family. Why would I do that? His breath is coming faster now. Short, shallow gasps. He's looking for an exit. He's looking for a way to make this my fault. He wants to call me crazy. He wants to tell me I'm the one with the problem. We are family, I say, and the word feels like ash in my mouth. And you are a parasite. I don't wait for his response. I don't want to hear his excuses or his whining or his fake apologies. I thumb the end call button. The screen goes black. I sit in the dark cabin for a moment, my heart thudding against my ribs like a trapped bird. My hand is shaking, just a little, not from fear, from the pure, concentrated heat of my own contempt. I reach into the pocket of my tactical vest and pull out my green moleskin field notebook. It is battered, the edges frayed from 9 months in a cargo pocket. I flip to a fresh page. I pull a black ballpoint pen from the spiral binding. I press the tip of the pen against the paper. I press so hard the metal tip nearly tears the fiber. I write one line in block letters. This is not a misunderstanding. This is war. I snap the notebook shut. I twist the key in the ignition. The Ford's engine rumbles to life, a low, predatory growl that shakes the entire frame. The time for talking is over. My supply lines have been cut. My base has been compromised. In the Army, when you find an infection in the ranks, you don't negotiate with it, you excise it. I shift the truck into drive. I don't look back at the terminal. I don't look at the sky. I just look at the road ahead, a long gray ribbon of Pennsylvania asphalt that leads straight to my father's front door. They think they know me. They think I'm the bank. They're about to find out I'm the storm. I reach into the back seat, my fingers brushing the cold, tactical nylon of my pack. I find the Pelican case. I drag it onto my lap, the heavy plastic thudding against my thighs. Inside sits my ruggedized laptop, a thick, olive-drab brick of reinforced metal and military-grade glass. It ain't pretty. It is built to survive a sandstorm in Kandahar, not to look good on some coffee shop table. I prop it onto the steering wheel. The Ford's dashboard groans under the weight, a dry plastic sound that echoes in the quiet cabin. I don't turn on the interior light. I don't need to see my hands. I know where every key is by the callus on my fingertips. I plug in the security token, a small black USB stick with a flickering red LED that looks like a dying star in the dark. The screen flickers to life, casting a harsh blue glare over my face. I look at my reflection in the glass. My eyes are flat, dead. There ain't no tears there, just the cold gray focus of a woman who has spent 15 years managing supply lines for a war machine. I open the secure banking portal. The cursor blinks at me, a rhythmic pulse like a ticking clock. I type in my credentials. Clack, clack, clack. The sound is mechanical, rhythmic, like field stripping a Beretta in the dark. I navigate to the shared access menu. My father's name is sitting there, bright and bold. Arthur Arnold. Supplementary card holder. Active. An intelligence officer never apologizes to the enemy for cutting their supply lines. I don't feel a shred of guilt. I feel like I'm doing inventory on a spoiled shipment. I open the live chat for high-priority security breaches. Requesting immediate revocation of all secondary cards linked to account ending in 4492. I type. I don't use abbreviations. I want it clear. I want it permanent. The representative responds in seconds. Reason for request, Captain Arnold. Unauthorized access. Financial compromise. Shut them down. Now. I hit the enter key. I hit it so hard the laptop wobbles on the steering wheel. A small box pops up on the screen. Access revoked. Next, I go for the throat. The automatic transfers. Every month, $200 for utilities. Another $100 for property maintenance. It has been happening for 3 years. I click the trash icon next to each one. Delete, delete, delete. In less than 10 minutes, the life support system for their parasitic existence is unplugged. They are going to wake up tomorrow morning, head to the gas station for their cheap cigarettes and lottery tickets, and find out the world has gone cold. The ATM ain't going to recognize their face anymore. The bloodlines are closed. Then I hit the wall. The screen prompts me for a final security update. Emergency contact information. For 15 years, it has been the same. Arthur Arnold, 1422 Willow Creek Road. Father. I stare at that blinking cursor. My hand, the one resting on the mouse pad, starts to stiffen. 15 years. Through 3 deployments and 2 combat tours, that name was the only thing I had to come home to. If I stepped on a pressure plate in the dirt, he was the one they would call. He was the one who would get the knock on the door and the folded flag. He was my anchor, my home base. Now that name is a threat. It is a hole in my armor. It is a vulnerability that can be exploited. I hit backspace. I watch the letters disappear one by one. ARTHUR. I wipe him out of my records. I type in a new name. Sarah Jenkins, JAG Corps, Fort Indian Town Gap. I hit save. The cabin feels colder now. The air smells like the resin from the ballpoint pen I chewed on earlier and the faint, chemical scent of the laptop's cooling fan. I'm an orphan now. Not because of some tragic accident or a long illness. I'm an orphan because I chose to be. I'm an orphan by design. It is a sharp, jagged kind of freedom that makes my chest ache, but it is the only way to survive the winter. I don't log off. I'm hunting now. I want to see how deep the rot goes. Ryan thought he was being clever, but he is a civilian who spends his days in a basement. He does not understand digital footprints. He set up a forwarding rule on my alerts. Forward to ryan.arnold@outlook.com. Delete from primary inbox. He did not think I would check the trash. I bypass his filters and open the deleted folder. It is a graveyard of evidence. My eyes lock onto a thread from 2 weeks ago. Subject: The Friday Plan. Sender: Arthur Arnold. I click it. The text is short, brutal. It is a map of their betrayal, written in the casual tone of men discussing a trip to the hardware store. She's gonna get her combat bonus on the 15th, my father wrote. Withdraw as much as the limit allows before she touches down. We need to clear that truck payment for you, Ryan. Don't leave a trail. She's too busy playing soldier to notice a few grand missing. Ryan's reply was even worse. I got the alerts blocked, Dad. She is a brick. She won't check the app until she is bored at the base. We have got at least 48 hours of clear air. I stare at the words, playing soldier. The laptop's fan whirs louder, a high, thin whine that sounds like a scream. I feel my pulse in my throat, thick and slow. They did not just steal my money. They mocked the life I led to earn it. They sat in my house, eating my food, while they laughed at the uniform I wore. I don't call them. I don't yell. I don't send a furious text. That is what they expect. They expect me to be the emotional daughter they can manipulate. I close the laptop. The lid clicks shut with a finality that rings through the Ford. I lean back and look at the dark houses lining the airport road. I was gonna go back to the base. I was gonna follow the schedule, check into my quarters, and deal with this through the proper channels. But the schedule has changed. I reach for the gear shift. I don't care about the combat bonus anymore. I don't care about the 48 hours of clear air Ryan thinks he has. I'm going home. Not for a reunion. Not for a talk. I'm going for a raid. I shift the truck into drive. The engine roars, a deep, angry V8 growl that shakes the steering wheel in my hands. I pull out of the lot, my headlights cutting through the thick Pennsylvania fog like a pair of tracers. They think they are watching a movie on their new big screen TV tonight. They simply ain't ready for the ending I am bringing. The blue light of the laptop is a cold blade against my eyes. I sit in the Philly airport lot, the heavy Pennsylvania fog turning into a slow, miserable drizzle that taps against the windshield like a nervous finger. I click the trash folder again. My hand is steady, but my grip on the trackpad is so tight the plastic groans. The first one is from my father, Arthur, sent to Ryan. Dated last Tuesday. She gets her pay Friday, it says. Withdraw enough for the final payment on the pickup. Don't leave a trace. It is a command. A tactical order from a retired industrial worker who spent 40 years in a steel mill learning how to manipulate systems. He didn't ask. He didn't check. He just directed the flow of my blood into his son's pocket. No, please. No, thank you. Just a cold, calculated instruction to drain the account before the owner could even touch down on American soil. A robbery under the guise of fatherhood. Then comes Ryan's reply, a text forwarded to an email thread. He's talking to some buddy from his gaming circle. Don't sweat the loan, man, Ryan wrote. My sister's got it covered. She's busy playing soldier in the Gulf. She ain't got time to check receipts. It's basically a free ride. Playing soldier. I stare at those two words. They burn. I've spent 15 years in this uniform. I've slept in the dirt of 3 continents. I've coordinated logistics for entire divisions while mortars shook the ground beneath my cot. I've seen things that would keep Ryan awake for a year. And to him, it's a game. To him, my service is just a convenient distraction so he can buy a new truck and sit in a basement. He thinks I'm a child playing dress-up. He thinks the risk I take is just a way for him to avoid a 9 to 5. Ryan spent his days in a climate-controlled basement, probably screaming at teenagers over a headset while he lived on my separation allowance. He called it a free ride. He treated my 15 years of service like a scholarship he'd won without ever opening a book. The arrogance of it, the sheer, unadulterated gall of a man who's never bled for anything in his life, makes the bile rise in my throat. I am a milk cow in a tactical vest. That is the realization that hits me. I am not a daughter. I am a funding device, a government-backed ATM that they check every 2 weeks to see if the balance is high enough for their next luxury. They didn't ask if I was tired. They didn't ask if the deployment was hard. They just wanted to know if the combat bonus hit the bank. They talked about my salary like it was a dividend from a stock they owned, not the price of my life. I feel the air in the cabin get thin. My chest is tight, not with sadness, but with a cold, vibrating rage that makes my ears ring. I look down at my hands. They are clamped onto the steering wheel. I release the grip, and I see the deep, red indentations in my palms. The leather of the wheel is scarred from my fingernails. My knuckles are white. My jaw is set so hard I can feel the pulse in my temples. The rain is coming down harder now. It smears the lights of the airport terminal into blurry, yellow streaks. I'm supposed to head back to Fort Indiantown Gap. I have a briefing in 8 hours. I have a report to file with my CO. But the mission has changed. I don't need a briefing to know who the enemy is. I don't need a report to see the damage. I have the receipts. The digital trail of their betrayal is saved on my drive, encrypted and backed up. I have the motive, I have the intent, and I have the location. I snap the laptop shut. The sound is like a gunshot in the quiet truck. I toss the Pelican case onto the passenger seat. It lands with a heavy plastic thud. I reach for the ignition. My fingers are steady now. The indecision is gone. The army brain Ryan mocked is exactly what is going to destroy him. He thinks I'm a brick? Fine, I'll be the one that smashes through his front window. I can see the silhouettes of the coal breakers in the distance, dark monuments to a harder time. My father always talked about the honor of hard work, but there ain't no honor in stealing from your own blood while she's downrange. He used the Steel City grit as a mask for his own cowardice. I'm done being the shield for his failures. I'm done being the scapegoat. I turn the key. The Ford V8 rumbles to life, a deep, predatory growl that shakes the entire frame of the truck. It feels like an extension of my own pulse. I tap the accelerator, and the engine roars back, a primal sound that drowns out the rain. I shift into drive. The tires grind against the wet gravel of the long-term lot. I don't look at the signs for the military base. I don't look at the GPS. I know the way to Scranton. I've memorized every mile of Interstate 81 over the years. I know every pothole, every exit, every dark stretch of road between here and the house I used to call home. I cut the wheel and head for the exit. I'm not coming home for a talk. I'm not coming home to cry on my father's shoulder. I'm going for a raid. I'm going to walk into that kitchen, and I'm going to watch the blood drain from their faces when they realize the ATM has arrived in person. They think they have 48 hours of clear air. They think I'm playing soldier somewhere on the other side of the world. They think they can spend my Friday paycheck before I even realize it's missing. They're about to find out that when a soldier comes home to find her base has been compromised, she doesn't file a complaint. She executes a tactical sweep. I hit the accelerator. The truck lunges forward into the rain. The lights of the Philly airport fade in my rearview mirror, replaced by the dark, wet stretch of the Pennsylvania highway. Scranton is 90 miles away. I'll be there by midnight. No warning, no call, no mercy. The storm is here. And it's driving a Ford. I pull the Ford into the gravel driveway, the tires grinding against the wet stones with a sound like breaking teeth. The Scranton fog is thick, a heavy gray curtain that clings to the peeling white siding of the house. I kill the engine. The silence that follows is sudden and suffocating. I sit there for a heartbeat, my hands still gripped at 10 and 2 on the wheel. Through the rain-streaked windshield, I see it. A silver 2024 Ram 1500 parked crookedly in the grass. It's shiny. It's aggressive. It's Ryan's. It's my 15 years of sand and sweat sitting on a set of premium Goodyear tires while the porch steps of this house are rotting through. I don't wait. I don't check my reflection. I don't adjust my uniform. I just open the door and step out into the mud. The rain is a cold needle against my neck, but I don't feel it. I walk up the steps, my combat boots thudding against the wood. The porch light is flickering, a dying yellow pulse that makes the whole place look like a haunted wreck. I don't knock. I haven't knocked on this door in a decade. I've paid the taxes, the insurance, and the mortgage on this dump since I was 21. I own the lock. I own the air inside. I push the door open. The hinges scream. The hallway smells of old carpet, damp dog, and that lingering sour scent of a house that hasn't seen a fresh breeze in years. I walk toward the kitchen. Thud, thud, thud. My boots hit the hardwood floors, sending a rhythmic vibration through the floorboards. It's the sound of a reckoning. I reach the doorway and stop. The three of them are there. It's a perfect little portrait of a parasitic ecosystem. My father, Arthur, is standing at the laminate counter, his thick back turned to me. He's wearing a stained undershirt and flannel pajama bottoms. Brenda is leaning against the sink, her arms crossed over her chest, staring at a spot on the floor. And there's Ryan, the golden child. He's sitting at the Formica table, hunched over a bowl of cereal, his knee bouncing a mile a minute. He's biting his nails, his eyes darting toward the hallway like a cornered rat. The air in the kitchen is thick. It tastes like burnt Folgers coffee and cheap bleach. Nobody moves. Nobody says a word. Arthur turns around slowly. He doesn't look relieved. He doesn't look like a father who just got his daughter back from a war zone. He looks like a man who's been interrupted during a business meeting. His face is flushed, his jowls hanging low. He hooks his thumbs into his waistband and huffs out a breath that smells of tobacco. "You're finally here," he says. His voice is a low rumble, meant to intimidate. It's the voice of the man who ruled this house with a belt and a bark for 40 years. "We've been waiting. The card was declined at the Sheets this afternoon. Then Ryan tried to run the payment for the truck, and that got flagged too. What the hell did you do with our money, Millie?" Our money. The words hit me like a physical weight, but I don't flinch. I stand there, feet shoulder width apart, my back as straight as a steel rod. I scan the room. I see the new 75-inch TV through the archway in the living room, its screen dark and silent. I see the high-end gaming headset draped over the back of Ryan's chair. "Did you hear me?" Arthur steps forward, his chin jutting out. He's trying to use his size to crowd me, the same way he did when I was 10. We had bills to pay. We had commitments. You can't just cut us off without a word. It's irresponsible. It's disrespectful to this family. Brenda looks up, her eyes narrow and cold. "We were worried, Millie," she lies. Her voice is like sandpaper. "We thought maybe something happened to the account." Ryan spent 3 hours on the phone with the bank. They wouldn't tell him a damn thing because you changed the security settings. Ryan finally looks at me. His face is pale, his eyes rimmed with red. He looks like he hasn't slept, but I know it ain't from worry. It's from the panic of a man who just realized his free ride has hit a brick wall. "You really did it, didn't you?" Ryan mumbles, his voice cracking. "You really locked us out." I don't answer them. I don't engage in the drama. I don't give them the satisfaction of my anger. I reach under my left arm and pull out a thick manila folder. I've carried it through the rain, protected by a plastic sleeve. I step into the room, the sound of my boots echoing off the grease-stained walls. I walk right up to the table. I don't look at Ryan. I look at Arthur. I see the vein pulsing in his forehead. I see the greed behind his self-righteousness. I toss the folder onto the table. It slides across the Formica, knocking over Ryan's spoon. It stops right in the center of the room. The sound of the paper hitting the table is a sharp, dry crack that cuts through the hum of the refrigerator. "Open it," I say. My voice is flat, level. It's the voice I use to tell a sergeant his supply lines are cut. Arthur glares at the folder. He doesn't touch it. "What is this?" "It's the map of your betrayal," I say. "It's the prime cut receipts." the Best Buy invoices, the gas station logs from I-81, and it's the email thread you and Ryan shared while I was in a bunker, discussing how much of my combat bonus you could grab before I landed. Ryan flinches. He stares at the folder like it's a live grenade. Does this scene feel familiar to you? Have you ever walked into a room where people were supposed to love you, but all they saw was a wallet? Have you ever had to stand your ground against a toxic parent or a lazy sibling who thought your hard work was their entitlement? If you've ever had to say no to the people who were supposed to protect you, hit that like button right now. Comment the word enough if you're tired of being the only one holding the line. Your support helps me keep telling this truth. Arthur's hand shakes as he reaches for the folder. He flips it open. I watch his eyes scan the printed emails. I watch the color drain from his face, replaced by a dark, ugly purple. He's looking for a way out. He's looking for a lie. This is a misunderstanding, he stammers, his voice losing its thunder. We were managing things. You were gone, Millie. Someone had to take care of the house. Managing. I take one step closer, invading his personal space. I don't blink. You weren't managing a house, Dad. You were harvesting a daughter. I turn my gaze to Ryan. He's shrinking in his chair, trying to disappear into his hoodie. You called it a free ride, Ryan, I say. My voice is a whisper now, and that's when they should be scared. You told your friends I was playing soldier so I wouldn't notice the theft. The silence returns, but this time, it's mine. I own it. That money, I say, pointing to the folder and then to the TV in the other room. That was never your money. Arthur slams his hand down on the table, but the power is gone. It's just noise. I am your father. I raised you. You owe this family. I look him dead in the eye. I don't feel like a daughter. I feel like a judge. I don't owe you a damn thing, I say. But you? You owe me $17,000, and I'm not leaving until I get what's left. I pull out my chair and sit down. I don't take off my boots. I don't take off my coat. The raid has only just begun. The fluorescent light above the Formica table hums, a high, thin vibration that grates against the sound of the rain. I sit there, my wet coat heavy on my shoulders, the scent of damp wool and road salt filling the small kitchen. Arthur is still standing, his chest puffed out like a rooster in a stained undershirt. Ryan is beside him, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. His heels hammer a frantic, uneven beat against the linoleum. It's a glitch, Millie, Ryan says. His voice is thin, reedy. He tries for a smile, but it's just a twitch of his lips that reveals his yellowed teeth. Banks mess up all the time. System errors. We were gonna call you. We were gonna get it all cleared up. He reaches for the manila folder, his fingers trembling as they brush the edge of the paper. He wants to hide it. He wants to bury the truth before it burns him. Sit. Down. The words are a low, vibrating growl. I don't shout. I don't have to. It's the voice I used in a motor pool in Kuwait when a private thought he could lie to me about a missing engine block. It's the voice of an officer who has already found the contraband. Ryan flinches as if I'd slapped him. His knees give out and he drops into the plastic chair with a dull thud. Brenda, leaning against the counter, does the same. Her face is a mask of pale indifference, but her hands are gripped so tight around her elbows that her knuckles are white. Only Arthur stays on his feet, his jaw working as he tries to find his thunder. I reach into the folder and pull out the first sheet. I lay it flat on the table, right next to Ryan's cereal bowl. A drop of rain falls from my sleeve and hits the paper, blurring the ink on a line dated March 14th. March 14th, I say. My voice is level, a rhythmic pulse. $612, Best Buy, a high-end dishwasher. We don't have a dishwasher in this house, Dad. But I hear Brenda's sister just got a kitchen remodel. I don't look at Brenda. I keep my eyes on the paper. I flip the page. Snap. The sound of the paper is like a dry branch breaking in the woods. April 3rd, $1,045, advanced auto parts, transmission work, and a set of custom rims. I look up then. I catch Ryan's eyes. They are darting around the room, looking for a hole to crawl into. The ram in the driveway has the exact same rims, Ryan. What a coincidence. Millie, you don't understand, Ryan starts, his voice rising in an octave of panic. I'm not done. I tap the table. Clack, clack, clack. Every single one of these transactions was authorized through the recovery email you set up. Every single login came from a local IP address. Yours, Ryan. Registered to your gaming rig in the basement. Ryan's mouth hangs open. No sound comes out. He looks like a fish gasping on a dry deck. He looks at Arthur, begging for a rescue that isn't coming. Arthur slams his fist onto the laminate. The salt shaker jumps. Enough of this. I am the head of this house. You think you can come in here after 15 years of us keeping this place standing and talk to us like we're criminals? Everything I did for this family. You were gone. You weren't here when the roof leaked or the taxes came due. He's shouting now, his face turning an ugly, bruised shade of purple. He's trying to use the family shield. It's a rusted piece of scrap metal he's been hiding behind his whole life. He thinks if he gets loud enough, the facts will disappear. He thinks if he mentions family, I'll crumble like the little girl who used to apologize for things she didn't do. I stand up slowly. I don't raise my voice. I move into his space, my boots heavy and solid against the floor. I smell the stale beer and the desperation on his breath. Family, I repeat. The word tastes like copper and ash. Family is a support system, Dad. It ain't a harvest. You didn't pay the taxes. I did. You didn't fix the roof. My combat pay did. You didn't keep this place standing. You sat in that recliner and watched your son bleed me dry because it was easier than being a father. I slapped the final page onto the table. The summary. The total. The number that makes Ryan's breath hitch in a jagged gasp. $17,000, I say. The silence that follows is absolute. It's the kind of silence that happens right before the sky opens up. That's what you took. That's the price of your loyalty. 17 grand. Arthur's eyes go wide. He looks at the number, and for a second, I see the greed flicker behind his anger. He isn't thinking about the betrayal. He's thinking about how much more he could have gotten if he'd been more careful. He looks at me, and I see the mask slip. The family man is gone. There's just an old, tired thief standing in a kitchen he doesn't own. You're a cold-hearted bitch, Millie, he spits. The words are meant to cut, but they just slide off my armor. You come back here with your fancy rank and your big paycheck, and you think you're better than us. You're just a soldier. You're a tool. And if you think you're gonna ruin this family over some money, then you can get the hell out. We don't need you. We don't need your blood money. He's playing his final card, the disowned card. He thinks he's threatening me with the one thing I craved, home. He thinks he can kick me out and keep the spoils. I almost laugh. It's a dry, hollow sound that stops him cold. You don't need my money. I lean in, my face inches from his. My eyes are stone. That's good. Because while I was sitting in that truck in the rain, I wasn't just reading emails. I was on the phone with the bank's fraud department. I was on with my JAG officer. I straighten up and look at Ryan. He's shaking now, a visible tremor in his hands. I didn't come here to negotiate, Dad, I say. I reach into my pocket and pull out my phone. I hold it up so they can see the screen. It's an empty balance, $0. I moved every cent of the remaining cash into a locked escrow account before I even stepped onto your porch. The card you tried to use at the Sheets, it ain't just declined, it's dead. And so is the credit line for that truck out front. The air leaves the room. Arthur's face goes from purple to a ghostly, sickly white. Ryan looks like he's about to vomit. I head for the door, my boots thudding with finality. I stop at the threshold and look back at the three of them sitting in the wreckage of their own greed. Tomorrow morning, the repo man is gonna want a word about that ram, I say. And I'm gonna want a word with a lawyer. Sleep tight. I step out into the rain and don't look back. The war has moved into the secondary phase, and they are completely out of ammunition. The silence in the kitchen is no longer empty. It is a physical weight, thick with the smell of stale cigarette smoke and the sharp metallic tang of the rain I brought in on my coat. Ryan is still slumped in his chair, his hands buried in the pockets of his oversized hoodie. He's vibrating with a nervous energy that makes the cereal bowl on the table rattle against the laminate. He looks up at me, and for the first time, I do not see the little brother I used to protect. I see a predator who ran out of prey. "So what, Millie?" Ryan's voice is a jagged edge, tearing through the quiet. He kicks his chair back, the plastic feet screeching against the linoleum like a dying animal. He's trying to act tough, trying to find that old leverage he used to have over me. "You think this makes you a hero? You think you can just march in here and hold us hostage with a folder of papers? What are you gonna do? Call the cops on your own flesh and blood? You gonna lock the cards and leave your father with nothing?" He leans forward, a desperate, oily sheen of sweat breaking out on his forehead. He thinks he knows my weak spot. He thinks he can reach into my chest and find that old, soft part of me that used to cave just to keep this family from screaming. "You think you can just cut us off?" Ryan sneers, his lip curling in a way that makes my stomach turn. "Go ahead, try it. See how you feel when you are sitting in some lonely barracks and you realize you have nobody left. We are the only people who give a damn about you, Millie. You think your army buddies are going to be there when you are old and gray? You are nothing without this house." I look at him. I look at the way he clings to his anger because it is the only thing he has left. I do not feel the familiar sting of guilt. I do not feel the urge to apologize for existing. I just feel a cold, hollow space where my heart used to be. I let a slow, predatory smile touch my lips. It is not a happy expression. It is the look of a sniper who has had the target in her crosshairs for a very long time. "Ryan," I say. My voice is so quiet that Arthur has to lean in to hear it. "You are talking like a man who still has a move to make. You are acting like we are in the middle of a negotiation." I lean forward, placing my hands flat on the grease-stained table. I do not look away from him. "I did not come here to threaten to lock the cards," I say, and each word is a deliberate strike. "I already did it. I did it while I was sitting in my truck in the rain. Before I even touched that front door, you were finished." The air leaves Arthur's lungs in a long, wheezing hiss. Ryan's jaw goes slack. His eyes go wide, darting toward his phone on the counter as if it might give him a different answer. "Every cent of my combat bonus is in a private escrow account," I continue, my voice gaining a hard, metallic edge. "The primary account is frozen. The supplementary cards in your wallets are plastic trash. The recurring payments for that truck in the driveway, they were crushed 10 minutes ago. I did not just close the door, Ryan. I burned the bridge while you were still standing on it. You are dead in the water." Arthur's face goes from a ghostly white to a dark, bruised purple. He slams his hand down on the table, the force of it making the old wood groan. "You ungrateful bitch!" Arthur roars. He stands up, his shadow looming large against the yellowed wallpaper. He points a thick, shaking finger at the uniform I am still wearing. "You think because you wear that suit and carry that rank, you can come back to this house and play God? I am the one who put the boots on your feet. I am the one who kept this roof over your head. You think that uniform gives you the right to treat your father like a common thief?" I stand up to meet him. I do not back down. I do not flinch. I have faced down men much more dangerous than Arthur Arnold in places much darker than this kitchen. "I did not join the United States Army to be a private ATM for this house, Dad," I say. I keep my voice level, but the intensity behind it makes Brenda take a step back toward the sink. I joined to get away from the small-minded greed of this town. I joined to be a part of something that actually has honor. Something you clearly do not understand. I scan the room one last time. I see the luxury television, the expensive gaming gear, the brand new appliances, all of it bought with the price of my nights in a bunker and my days in the dust. "I am not going to sue you for the $17,000, I say, and I see a flicker of relief in Ryan's eyes before I extinguish it. "I am not going to drag you through a court because I do not want to spend another second of my life thinking about you. But everything stops here, right now. You are on your own." I reach out and grab the manila folder. I don't need it anymore. I have already executed the plan. I turn my back on them and walk toward the hallway. "If you walk out that door, Millie, do not even think about coming back." Arthur yells after me. His voice is cracking, the sound of a man who realizes his kingdom has turned to ash. You hear me? You are dead to this family. You are nothing. Do not call me when you are lonely. Do not come crawling back when you realize that nobody wants a cold, heartless soldier for a daughter. I stop at the front door. I do not turn around. I look at the peeling paint on the door frame, the layer of dust on the baseboards. The worst part of this is not the money, Dad, I say, and my voice carries through the house with the finality of a closing tomb. The worst part is that in 15 years, not once did either of you think I was worth asking. You just took. You took because you thought I was a resource, not a person. You did not even think I deserved a choice in my own life. I grip the doorknob. It is cold and solid in my hand. You tell me not to come back? I let out a short, dry laugh. I have been the one carrying this house on my back since I was 21 years old. I have been the foundation, the roof, and the walls. I am not the one who is leaving, Dad. I am the one who is finally putting the burden down. I step out into the rain. The Pennsylvania air is biting and wet, but it feels cleaner than the oxygen inside that house. I walk down the rotting porch steps and do not look back. I do not look at the Ram truck that will be towed by Monday. I do not look at the flickering porch light. I get into my Ford. I start the engine. The V8 growls, a deep, steady roar that drowns out the sounds of the night. I shift into drive and pull away from the curb. The road ahead is dark, but for the first time in 15 years, I am not driving towards someone else's crisis. I am just driving. The war is over. I won. And I am finally, truly, alone. The neon sign for the Motel 6 flickers in the rearview mirror, a jagged pulse of red and white cutting through the Pennsylvania mist. I pull the Ford into a slot near the back, far from the light of the lobby. The engine clicks as it cools, a rhythmic ticking that sounds like a countdown. I sit there for a minute, my forehead resting against the cold arc of the steering wheel. The silence in the truck is absolute, a vacuum where a home and a family used to be. My chest feels hollowed out, as if Arthur and Ryan hadn't just taken my money, but had reached inside and scooped out everything that made me a daughter. I grab my Pelican case and step out. The air is damp, smelling of wet asphalt and old grease from a nearby diner. My boots crunch on the gravel. Inside the lobby, the clerk doesn't ask questions. He's seen 1,000 people like me, people who look like they've just walked out of a wreck and aren't sure which way is north. I take the plastic key card, walk down the outdoor breezeway, and shove the door open. The room is a masterpiece of American mediocrity. Beige walls, a scratchy industrial carpet that feels like sandpaper under my feet, a single flat pillow on a bed that smells faintly of lemon-scented bleach, and a stranger's cigarette. It is the most beautiful place I have ever seen. There are no expectations here. No one is waiting in the dark to ask me for a loan. No one is plotting to intercept my combat bonus while I'm trying to survive a 12-hour shift. I drop the Pelican case on the bolted-down desk. I sit on the edge of the bed and reach for the laces of my combat boots. My fingers are stiff, the joints aching from the grip I held on that steering wheel for 90 miles. I pull the boots off, one by one, and set them side by side on the carpet. They look out of place here, too solid, too real. I lie back, staring up at the acoustic ceiling tiles. Outside, the ice machine down the hall begins to groan, a mechanical rasp that vibrates through the wall. Then the phone starts. It's on the nightstand, face up. The screen ignites, a harsh blue glare that carves through the shadows of the room. It doesn't ring. I've had it on silent since I left Scranton. But it hums, a frantic, buzzing vibration that makes the wood grain of the table shiver. Arthur. I don't answer. I don't move. I just watch the notifications stack up like cordwood. Where the hell are you? You can't just leave things like this, Millie. We need to talk about the mortgage. You made me look like a thief in front of my own wife. You humiliated me in my own kitchen. I read that last one twice. Humiliated. He didn't say he was sorry. He didn't ask where I was sleeping or if I was okay. He was worried about the optics. He was worried that the mask had slipped and Brenda had seen the rot underneath. He wasn't a thief because he stole $17,000. He was a victim because I dared to point it out. It's the classic American patriarch's last stand. If you can't win on facts, win on grievance. The phone buzzes again. Ryan this time. Millie, come on. Dad is losing it. The bank said the accounts are under investigation for fraud. Do you know what that does to my credit? I'm gonna lose the RAM. Just call them and tell them it was a mistake. We can work this out. The word mistake makes a jagged, dry laugh catch in my throat. He thinks the mistake was getting caught. He thinks the investigation is the tragedy, not the 3 years of systematic theft. He wants me to lie to a federal institution so he can keep a truck he didn't earn. The parasitic instinct is strong in that kid. Even as the host is pulling away, he's still trying to find a vein. I roll onto my side, facing away from the blue light. The room is cold. The AC unit under the window is rattling, blowing a thin stream of recycled air that smells like dust. I feel a strange leaden weight in my limbs. It's not just the deployment fatigue anymore. It's the weight of 15 years of being the strong one. The one who sent the checks. The one who signed the papers. The one who made sure the Arnold name didn't end up in a bankruptcy court. They didn't hate me. That would have been easier to handle. They just didn't see me. I was a utility, like the water or the heat. You don't thank the furnace for keeping the house warm. You just complain when it breaks down. The phone buzzes one last time. A voicemail notification. I sit up and press play, putting the phone on speaker. Ryan's voice fills the room, stripped of the bravado he had in the kitchen. He sounds small. He sounds like the kid who used to hide behind my legs when the neighbor's dog barked. Hey, Millie. Look. I didn't realize it had added up to that much. 17 grand is... It's a lot, okay? I was gonna pay it back once the streaming channel took off. I just needed a start. Look, just... call me. Please. Dad is talking about selling the house. You can't let him do that. It's your house too. I stare at the phone. His regret is a hollow shell. He's only sorry because the math finally hit him. He's only sorry because the consequence is real now. He's still trying to use the house as bait, the very house they turned into a crime scene. A soldier doesn't waste ammunition on a target that's already neutralized. They don't fire into the fog just to hear the noise. I reach out and pick up the phone. I don't type a reply. I don't listen to the message again. I swipe the notifications away, clear the screen, and press the power button. I turn the phone face down on the nightstand. The ice machine stops grinding. The room goes silent. I lie back down and pull the thin, scratchy motel blanket up to my chin. Tomorrow, the sun will come up over the highway. Tomorrow, I'll drive back to the base and I'll start the paperwork to make this permanent. I'm not a daughter tonight. I'm not a sister. I'm not even a soldier. I'm just a woman in a quiet room, and for the first time in my life, I don't owe anyone a damn thing. I close my eyes. Outside, a truck downshifts on the interstate, the engine brake a long, low growl that fades into the distance. I sleep. Morning sun cuts a jagged yellow line across the hardwood floor of my apartment. It is 6 miles from Fort Indiantown Gap, tucked away in a quiet complex where the neighbors mind their own business and the trees block out the highway noise. The walls are a neutral eggshell, a color that does not ask for permission to exist. It smells of fresh pine cleaner and the cold metallic scent of the baseboard heaters. There is no damp dog here. There is no sour, lingering smell of my father's cheap tobacco or the heavy, vibrating tension that used to hang in the air like a live wire. I sit at a sturdy table. It is solid oak. It does not wobble. I like things that are built to withstand the weight of a hard life. I sit with my back straight and my shoulders square, the way I have sat for 15 years. But for the first time in my adult life, I do not feel the phantom weight of a 60-pound ruck on my spine. I feel light. I feel hollow in a way that is not empty, but clean. I reach for my phone. It is sitting face up on the oak. It is Friday morning, the 15th of the month. Payday. The notification pings. It is a short, electronic sound that reminds me of a brass casing hitting a concrete floor. I pick it up. I do not have to brace myself anymore. I do not have to squint at the screen, waiting for the blow to land. I thumb the lock and open the banking application. The blue interface is familiar, a digital landscape I've navigated from bunkers in Iraq and sandy tents in Kuwait. The balance is there, it is bold, it is black, it is untouched. My base pay, my combat bonus, my housing allowance. It is a clean, five-figure sum that represents months of my life spent in the dirt, breathing in diesel fumes and coal dust. I scroll down to the transaction list with a steady hand. Nothing. There is no $45 charge at a Sunoco in Scranton. There is no $186 bill at a steakhouse. There is no $1,200 miscellaneous withdrawal to a ghost account. The numbers just stay there, obedient and silent. For 15 years, checking this application was like checking a fresh wound to see how much blood I had lost during the night. Today, the bandage is dry. The bleeding has finally stopped. I let out a breath I have been holding since I was 21 years old. It is a physical release, a loosening of the tight, knotted muscles in my neck. I am not an ATM. I am not a resource. I am just Millie. I look at the mail sitting on the corner of the table. There is a single white envelope. The return address is written in a loopy practice script. Brenda Arnold, 1422 Willow Creek Road. The stamp is crooked, and the paper smells like a perfume I recognize, something sweet and cheap that she has been wearing since the day she moved into my father's house. I pick up a letter opener, a small, sharp piece of steel. I slice the top of the envelope with a single, precise motion. I do not rip it. I do not crumble it. I treat it with the same cold detachment I would give to a discarded intelligence report from a low-level informant. Millie, the letter begins. There is no welcome home. There is no we are sorry. There is only a list of grievances disguised as family news. Things have been real tough here since you left, Brenda wrote. The bank sent some men to the house yesterday. They took Ryan's truck right out of the driveway while he was sleeping. He has been in a dark place, Millie. He will not even come out of the basement for dinner anymore. Your father's back is acting up again, and with the way the taxes are this year, we do not know how we are going to keep the lights on through the winter. We were just trying to look out for things while you were gone. We never meant for it to get so messy. You know your father. He is just a proud man. He did not want you to worry about the bills. The words are slick and meaningless. I can hear her voice, the whining tone she uses for favors. She does not mention the theft or the hacked email. She just mentions the mess. To her, I am still a checkbook. We are having turkey for Thanksgiving, the letter ends. Family is everything. Family is everything. I fold the letter without any anger. Anger is engagement, and I am disengaged. I do not even like turkey. I spent 15 years eating food I did not like in a house I paid for. Brenda thinks the family label is a master key that can open any lock. She does not know I changed the locks. I drop the letter. It hits the trash with a soft thud. Ryan can find a job. Arthur can sell the house. It is not my mission. The account is settled. I sip my tea. I like the burn. Tonight, I will sleep. No debts, no thieves, just the silent numbers of my own life. I won. I am free.